Yo, what's up? This is Jay Dennis, and here we are again with another compilation video of me roasting public memes posts on Bryan Casella's Instagram story. Again, he's a public figure. He's got hundreds of thousands, maybe tens of thousands of subscribers and followers. And he's using his platform to spread dangerous disinformation, and that's why I'm continuing to be one of the few dissenting voices against him, because generally I wouldn't care about this kind of stuff, but when it's somebody who actually has a platform, and if you watch my past videos, I had a lot of time, money, and other things invested in learning from him, and again, just deeply disappointed as how he's turned out this past year. So he had a busy month, and I believe most of these are in May, sharing a bunch of BS on his Instagram feed. So I'm going to go through and debunk them. I think there's probably somewhere between 25 to 30 here, so I'm going to try not to make this thing 8 hours long. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm selfish. You force others to I'm selfish? You force others to inject themselves with dangerous substances so you feel safe. How are vaccines dangerous now? Who's forcing you to get the vaccine? Sure, there's, pressure to get it so that we can end this pandemic, which has claimed millions of people and has given millions of people morbidities too. But it's a group effort. Nobody's forcing you to get the vaccine, but the vaccine is certainly working, because with millions being administered, the cases and deaths are falling down because vaccines work, and these vaccines aren't dangerous. You force others to cover their source of oxygen for months on end so you feel safe. You can breathe through masks. Did you know that? They just happen to greatly reduce the spread of viral particles, which is why wearing them has worked so effectively the past year. That's why flus were also down so much, because most people were wearing masks. So masks work. They're easy, they're efficient, and they're inexpensive. Yet they are triggering enough for a weakling like you to make you think that you're being oppressed. You force others to lose their jobs and retirement so you feel safe. No, that was the fault of people like yourself and people like the guy you voted for twice, Donald Trump, having a piss poor response to this government, or to this pandemic, which led to an economic crisis. That is more of an indictment of the system we live in, not the people who were trying to be safe, you selfish person. You force others to stay at home so that you feel safe. Again, same argument. It's more of an indictment on the system that we live on, because lockdowns and staying at home worked. We prevented an additional millions of deaths and cases because we actually did what the CDC recommended. I haven't asked one person to do one thing. Your list is long and endless. Well, yeah, Brian, of course you wouldn't ask somebody else to do that, because you're selfish, because you are so self-absorbed and you think you can handle everything on your own. But then you simultaneously talk about how we humans are a collective and we're part of this metaphysical energy where we're all vibing with each other. You have cognitive dissonance, Brian. You teach things about being part of a community, and yet when it comes to actually coming together as a community to stop a common problem, you're part of every step of the opposition that prevents the problem from being solved. And that's why I'm continuing to make these stupid videos in response to your stupid disinformation. Misinformation. Either or. You're spreading lies, Brian. Next. If you can't realize that everyone's been programmed, then you've been perfectly programmed. 95% of society is lost. All right, so again, talking about the whole herd mentality thing, most of his memes and bullshit come from Operation Woke Humanity, or Wake Up Sheeple. Basically, he's projecting. He's thinking that because he follows a couple of eclectic conspiracy theorists and thinks outside the box and likes to say that he believes in what the experts say in certain industries, but as soon as it goes counter to factual things that disagree with his ideology or his existence or what have you, he just claims that it's everybody else's fault. This is what gaslighters do. They claim that most of our society is lost, and while not everybody and not even a large portion of our society is full of extraordinary people, it is full of people who know more about you, who know more than you on subjects that you have nothing. Like, we are all, for the most part of something. where you can claim somebody over here who has knowledge that you might not think is important, but it might matter in a different regard. You claiming that 95% of society is lost is an extremely ungrounded, unfounded BS claim to make. All right. It went from 14 days, and it's just a mask, wear it to protect yourselves, to inject yourselves with mystery potion or we're never going to give your freedoms back real fast. Okay, again, you're mad at the people who are solving the problem that people like you prolonged because of a failed response. It could have just been 14 days to flatten the curve and wear a mask if people had actually abided by what to do, or if we had an effective leader deal with this, but we didn't. We had a loser in charge, a political and manly, and by manly I mean the losership of himself has to do with part of his manhood too, who helped perpetuate this, and your support of him didn't help. So you're blaming basically yourself with claims like this. Sorry, I'm just trying to zoom in and actually read this. Salem, Massachusetts city government. The Salem, Massachusetts Board of Health local mask order requires, as of July 17th, 2020, requires masks indoors, outside, downtown, and city parks. It has not been revised at this time. The Board of Health meets on May 11th to discuss any changes you can submit, yada, yada, yada. Masks are required in Salem even if you're vaccinated. Yeah, because not everybody's vaccinated yet, fucko. We have such a population of people who are anti-vax. And again, I don't condemn vaccine hesitancy as much, but there's plenty of information out there from doctors and scientists and epidemiologists that can give you the information that you need. You got piss poor actors like Tucker Carlson just being on the air and asking questions. Well, dude, you have the resources. So do you, Bryan. You probably have the resources to get the information that you want. You just don't agree with reality. If you really wanted answers about vaccines, like, why is there mercury in vaccines? It's like, dude, it serves a purpose, and any tiny dose of anything that might be doing something bigger, like a chemical reaction, a tiny dose of mercury is not going to hurt you, but it does serve a purpose to the overall vaccine. That's just one small argument, to help debunk the misinformation that you claim about them being dangerous. But your lack of knowledge about science and chemicals and how all this stuff works, like, you could have the answers to your problem solved if you just fucking had an interest in it. All right. Yahoo News, Yahoo Finance. Shit, I didn't double check this, but it looks like they're written by different people. Did you know that? Did you know that online media sources have multiple different writers? So maybe sometimes the headlines might counter each other. Joe Rogan, who's not a doctor, gives terrible vaccine advice. That's true. He had to walk it back. 5 things Bill Gates wants you to know about COVID-19 variants. Okay. That's different than giving medical advice. And then you put your stupid little emoji of you with your hand over your face as if you think you've found some sort of piece of comedy gold where you're like, oh, wow, look at these conflicting articles. Blah. Yeah, Joe Rogan did give terrible advice. He said, if you work out, then you don't need to get the vaccine. And then the backlash was so intense that even somebody who's mostly rational thinking like him can admit, yeah, I was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. Bill Gates has his own problems, but him sharing information about the variants, because he is kind of plugged into what's going on a little bit, no pun intended, that's not as inflammatory. Again, Bill Gates is not a perfect person. He probably has his issues. I have his issues about what to do with the patents, but him sharing information is different than giving advice. Yeah, Bryan, when you share disinformation, of course, your shit's going to get reported and it's going to get censored and possibly canceled because you're spreading dangerous disinformation. And guess what? These private companies have a right to limit you because your information and your presence on there is not in these companies' best interest because it's dangerous, to say the least. Same thing with this. Nobody wants to see why you're not going to be getting a COVID-19 vaccine. Nobody cares that you're on Parler or these other channels where mostly dangerous people commingle, like Telegram or whatever, 8chan, I don't know. But nobody gives a shit because even though I didn't get a chance to watch this and I don't want to watch you waste your time with your gaunt face and your stupid long hair that looks really bad on you, that's just my opinion. I I've watched other videos of you before where you try to rationalize things like why you voted for Donald Trump twice or why you left California for Florida. You don't give good explanations. So I highly doubt this COVID-19 vaccine video is going to be any more insightful. It's time to start shunning the vaccine hesitant. They're blocking herd immunity. Yes, they are. Enough analysis of these human petri dishes. Everyone who wants a vaccine will have one, and proof should be required to work, play, and travel. Yeah, so you can sit there and laugh with your stupid laugh emoji all you want. But again, vaccine hesitant and anti-vax people are, again, from the very beginning, whether it was with testing, funding things, rolling vaccine rollout, anything like that, they've been standing in the way the entire time and continue to this day. So yeah, it is time to start shunning you because people like you need to start to feel shame because what you're doing is dangerous and it's hurting people and it's poisoning the well of civic discourse. Transmission of COVID-19 occurs mostly through news broadcasting. The virus. Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, the news media is problematic. It doesn't mean that the actual virus itself that doesn't make it any less untrue. You're basically using straw man arguments and saying, well, or tu quo Q fallacies is what they're called, where you're thinking because one thing is bad, that means the other thing that it's potentially conflated with is even worse or possibly just as bad. That's not true. All right, this will be the last one I do for this clip. We need to destroy the lives of 99.9% of the population to protect the 0.1% that are vulnerable. Not true. If 1% of vaccine recipients die from the vaccine, that's a totally irrelevant percentage. Those numbers aren't accurate. The numbers of deaths related to cases is way higher than the numbers of deaths related to those that are people getting vaccinated. Like 6 blood clot deaths from millions of Johnson & Johnson vaccines versus thousands of deaths from hundreds of thousands of COVID-19 infections is a much higher percentage. And we never said we needed to destroy the lives. Again, this is an indictment of the system, not on a piss poor response to the pandemic. So again, your whole back and forth between these two things is a fucking masterclass in false equivalencies. You're full of shit. All right, let's see if I can do these a little bit quicker now. One of the most dangerous trends of our times is making the truth socially unacceptable or even illegal with hate speech laws. Yeah, Brian, because fucking, oh my God. Because the hate speech that people that you support, like Donald Trump, did not result in spiking hate crimes of Pacific Islanders or Asian Americans. Do you understand that your words have consequences, dude? And that hate speech isn't protected by First Amendment? And that conflating the truth or social acceptability with hate speech is beyond stupid. Like, it's like you don't even think about this stuff before you post it. Trust the science. Coercion is not science. Who's coercing you? Withholding data is not science. Ron DeSantis and other Republican governors withheld data. Manipulating data is not science. Same thing. And yeah, even Governor Cuomo in New York did that for a little bit. Cherry-picking studies is not science. Why do you give a fuck about science? You disregard it. So for you to even talk about science at all, it's bullshit because your whole framework and foundation are corrupt. So why do you get to talk about science when you don't even believe in it? Social conditioning, fear-mongering, big pharma propaganda. Yeah, big pharma is a problem. And they also have solutions, unfortunately. They're a corrupt system, but they also still got the fucking life-saving vaccines out. That's all scientism, pseudoscience. Yeah, and so is the fucking conspiracy bullshit that you put out, or the occasional like hack doctor or scientist that isn't even like respected in their own community. Yeah, alkaline herbs. This guy's a nutritionist. He knows more than a PhD in epidemiology. It's like you don't get to talk about science, Brian, because you attack science on a daily basis. Mainstream media, Democrat. Okay, so now that the Democrats are in charge, we're the ones that are using race to divide the country based on this really shit cartoon. Yeah, we're the ones that are putting out racist voter suppression bills that are designed to attack thick urban populations that lean blue. We're the ones that did hate speech using the coronavirus, the China virus, to hurt and possibly kill a bunch of Asian Americans. Yeah, Democrats are totally the ones that are doing that. Democrats are the ones that incited an insurrection and hate Kamala Harris because she's the first black woman vice president. Yeah, it's totally Democrats that are using the race card, not the Republican Party, not the Republican Party that elected their last president who used fear-mongering on immigration and called Mexicans murderers and rapists. Like, go fuck yourself, dude. Like, this is projection at its finest. In a democracy, we have always had to worry about the ignorance of the uneducated. Today, we have to worry about the ignorance of people with college. Where's your fucking people with college degrees? Are you serious? A whole generation of millennials were told to go get a college degree, and now we're being told that because we have them, that we're ignorant. Bryan, I don't think you ever finished college, so I think you're feeling a little insecure here. These types of pictures won't go viral. It would cause too much unity. No, Bryan, this is an example of whitewashing, where, whether it's African apartheid or having Africans kidnapped from their country to become slaves in our state, or the Pilgrims and the Native Americans, a bunch of human tragedy has happened at the hands of European white folk. We're not alone in that, but to attempt to whitewash history, like, you think we don't like to see good shit? There's a lot of negativity in the world, but you're sharing the photo, but you're the one trying to conflate this whole idea that things aren't as bad as they seem. I don't know if that's what you're going for here, but it's failing. Want to return to normal? Get vaccinated. I mean, it's the truth. You know why things are going back to normal, Bryan? Because millions of people have been vaccinated. Millions and millions and millions. And everybody's fine. Give or take. Like 10 or 20 deaths out of millions. Oh, God. Operation Woke Humanity. And yet you're probably somebody, or Wake Humanity, and yet you're probably a Republican that makes fun of woke culture. Oh, this piece of shit, Greg Abbott, one of the worst governors. He's very much competing with Ron DeSantis to be the worst. I think Greg Abbott might actually be the worst, though. Since Texas opened 100% 2 months ago, COVID hospitalizations are the lowest in almost 11 months. Gee, I wonder why. 5 consecutive days with fewer than 2,000 COVID cases, straight positivity, fatality. Okay, so now that things are working out, now you give a shit about numbers. But what else has happened in 2 months? And by the way, who knows if these numbers are even totally accurate? I think Texas had a couple of spikes when they reopened. But what else has happened? A bunch of vaccinations. Yeah, vaccinations have gone way up, and also in Texas. So, again, straw man argument. Because we opened, things are down. No, motherfucker. Those things are happening despite the fact that you opened early because of the vaccine. Go fuck yourself, you... Oh, God, Greg Abbott is the absolute worst. Him and his restrictive voting right bill and his restrictive abortion bill. One of the worst human beings in this country. I know, Angel. I'm sorry, but Daddy lacks the courage to stand up for your freedoms and right to... What a bitch-ass thing to post. He's clearly protecting his daughter. He cares about his kid. You wouldn't know anything about that, Bryan. When McDonald's partners with the White House to promote something healthy and you don't question it, you are a fool. Well, Bryan, maybe if people like you weren't out here spreading disinformation, all these companies wouldn't have to go out and give out perks or share things, because we have such a dense... a portion of this population is so mentally dense that in order to get them vaccinated, you have to give them free shit. You have to give them donuts. You have to give them coffee or whatever, White House is partnering with White House to promote vaccination information on its coffee cups is evident. What does drinking coffee at McDonald's have to do with health? Promote something healthy. Like, because McDonald's is a fast food place, but they're doing this on coffee? Yeah, a lot of people go to McDonald's and they order coffee. So it's actually a pretty solid business move. Bryan, capitalism, you have to follow the money. These companies are doing this for money because they're sick of having sick people or people not be able to go to their place because of the pandemic. A lot of people are still scared, but you don't have the emotional capacity or whatever gland secretes empathy to understand this. All right, this is false, even though you put 100 on it. Anyone claiming that there will be a vaccine, this is in 2020, anybody claiming there will be a vaccine passport is a conspiracy theorist and their dangerous misinformation must be stopped. 2021, anyone opposed to a vaccination passport is a conspiracy theorist and their dangerous misinformation. Okay, well, that's actually kind of true, because conspiracy theorists change their story all the time. They change their story all the time when their conspiracies don't come to fruition. But what you're claiming happened in 2020 was by no means, is probably barely a fraction of what happened in 2021, where once we start to see the effects, people getting vaccinated and getting back out there, this whole notion of documentation, which has not been pushed by the government, by the way, it's so much more than what we're claiming in 2020. I don't recall that ever happening in 2020. I followed all this stuff pretty closely, so I think you're kind of full of crap here with yet again another lie. Oh, cool. Brian's spreading QAnon shit. If you have a problem with satanic pedophiles, then we are allies. Congratulations, Brian. You just let everybody know that you fell for the QAnon bullshit. Yay! Brian believes QAnon. Yay! Haha, too little too late, homie. Your ass is out. Desperate much? Because Gavin Newsom, California will eliminate debt owed for traffic fees and fines for low-income Californians. Nice. Because traffic tickets are basically a poll tax, or they're a lower-class tax. Yeah, so Brian, here's the thing about California recall elections. California is one of the easiest states to demand recalling a governor. Every state does things differently. California has one of the lowest hurdles to clear. And even though California is like 70% liberal, if you get a chunk of that 30% independent or Republican to sign, like a couple million people to sign a petition, it's not that hard to trigger a recall election. So Gavin Newsom, just based on current polling, doesn't really have a whole lot to worry about. Don't really have any good Republican contenders against him. And even though Gavin Newsom is by no means the best governor California could have ever asked for, or the best Democrat, he's not in any danger of losing his seat. Liberal dudes on their way to tell you to put their mask on. Okay, cool, homophobia. Maybe just wear your mask and quit spreading your bullshit, dude. But I mean, this is getting kind of dated at this point. Things being offered to take the COVID jab. Donuts, burgers, french fries, lap dances, beer, lottery tickets. Things not being offered. Peer-reviewed clinical studies to... Yes, those things are being offered. You're just choosing to not look at them. There's videos all over the place. There's information all over the place. Look at the fucking thing at the bottom. Visit the COVID-19 Information Center for Vaccine Resources. You can go and look at that shit. Liability when something goes wrong. God, dude. Yeah, again, there's such a dumb population of people that don't want to take this that they're willing to take free shit like donuts, burgers, french fries, and other stuff too. It's not just unhealthy stuff. It's like money or lottery or stuff like that. I know lottery tickets is listed there. But again, this is incomplete information, and it's verifiably untrue because there are peer-reviewed clinical studies. It has to be peer-reviewed and tested before it gets approved by the FDA, numbnuts. Texas Governor Abbott bans public entities from imposing mask mandates, including schools. Okay, I thought Brian was a small government conservative, but he loves it when state governors use their own big government powers to tell businesses and schools what to do. Again, a lot of this grandstanding that Republicans are doing with imposing voting rights, or Florida with its riot bill, or Abbott with the restrictive abortion bill, a lot of that stuff's probably going to be challenged in court and it's going to fail. So Brian is, as much as he likes to say he doesn't talk politics, he's showing who he supports. He supports Ron DeSantis, that wannabe Trump asshole, and you got Greg Abbott, who's like Satan himself, using big government to restrict things. I thought you didn't like that. All right, let's get to the home stretch here. Okay, I was hoping to do a little bit more preparation for this one because it's kind of a loaded visual here. But again, it's a straw man argument. You're arguing something that's not happening. Businesses aren't asking people for proof of vaccination. If anything, they're just still maintaining, hey, until we get cases down even further and until vaccination rates continue to go up despite demand going down, we can still enforce our own private business health standards, such as still wearing a mask and still socially distancing. Nobody is asking for proof of vaccination. Nobody's trying to violate HIPAA here. So to all these pussy-ass cocksuckers that you share on your channel, Brian, of people going and harassing business owners and trying to push legal or illegal dogma towards them, saying, you legally can't do that, I'm going to give you a lawsuit, that stuff's not going to come to fruition because these businesses have a right to do on their private property what they wish, but they're also not asking for proof of vaccination. Now, when it comes to travel, when it comes to school, when it comes to other things, there are so many more layers to it than just going into a single brick and mortar business. So those entities like airlines, depending on where you're traveling to, where they have their own set of laws, or schools where health is a pretty serious factor considering how herd immunity works, that's different. But businesses are not asking you for proof of vaccination. Where is this happening? Joe Biden straight out came out and said, we're not forcing vaccine passports or anything like that. So again, you're arguing something that doesn't exist here. Oh, Brian, what do you have against Hillary Clinton? It's pretty simple. Get vaccinated. Get your life back. Go fuck yourself, Hillary. But Clinton body count. I believe that only Democrats commingled with Jeffrey Epstein. Pizzagate. Brian, your credibility is shot, man. Go fuck yourself, Hillary. The fact that you can look at what was alleged against Hillary Clinton without verifiable evidence, the amount of fucking Benghazi task force that were highly partisan that came out that led to nothing, even commissions about her emails that led to nothing, and yet you can't even admit that the guy that you supported who beat Hillary Clinton, not by the popular vote, but just by the electoral college. Oh, look, Hillary Clinton's not the best person in the world by any means, but the amount of smear and the amount of disinformation against her is beyond repair, whereas the amount of hate towards Donald Trump is very, very, very well deserved, because he's on camera and it's much easier to verify all the horrific stuff he did, including, you know what Hillary Clinton would not have done, Brian? She would not have botched this pandemic response. You know what she would have not done? She would have not incited an insurrection. You know why? Probably because she wouldn't have lost, because she wouldn't have sucked as bad of a president as much as Donald Trump did. But we can't change the past. But again, you're basically projecting all the things that are wrong with Donald Trump onto Hillary Clinton, who's problematic in her own ways, but calling her Hillary, kind of shallow. You really don't have anything to back that up, do you? Oh, look at you, Brian, avoiding all the conspiracy theories. Let's see, Big Pharma, they're problematic, but they still do a little bit of good. 5G, Okay, so obviously Brian's proving again he's a conspiracy theorist because he believes in chemtrails. He believes that GMOs are totally bad when they're not. They could actually end world hunger. Vaccines, yeah, Brian, it's really cool to see you visually put how much you're running away from, a couple of problematic things like pollution and some parts of Big Pharma. But to assume that vaccines, all GMOs, fluoride, and 5G are bad, got nothing to show for it, dude. Oh, what's that? Oh, I got vaccinated 2 months ago, and my 5G chip that I got implanted with is telling me that I need to hurry up and finish with the critiques. Otherwise, we are giving away too much information and stopping the truth tellers, such as Bryan Casella, from spreading the gospel. What the hell just happened? Did I get hijacked or something? I don't feel very good. All right, I need to finish this before something inside me explodes. Was it the vaccine I got? Oh, okay. They've never worn masks. Shit is all for the cameras. Okay. Dems caught not wearing masks. It's all about your health. It's not about your health. It's about control. Okay, this is complete bullshit. More than 96% of Democrats in both the House and the Senate have been vaccinated. So the Senate chambers are safe enough to basically be in their maskless for the most part. Also, let's look at who shared this stupid video. DC Drano, Rogan O'Hanley, who I've made fun of you for sharing before. Rogan O'Hanley is a white supremacist, hack, fake reporter who was on OAN recently, and he called for tax credits to be given to people so that he could buy guns so that he could protect himself from BLM. Basically, Rogan O'Hanley is a perfect example of what stochastic terrorism looks like, and he is 0% DC Drano. How's that going for you, Rogan O'Hanley? You hack, you fucking grifter, you lying sack of shit, DC Drano. How's that working out for you, buddy? Yeah, Brian, you're sharing bullshit here. Democrats don't necessarily have to wear masks depending on what chamber they're in. You can take any clip in isolation and take it out of context and claim something, but it doesn't mean it's true. But most Democrats that are elected representatives have actually been vaccinated. So they can safely follow CDC guidelines and say, oh yeah, turns out if we're around vaccinated people, we don't have to wear masks because we actually fucking listen to the scientists. Last one. They don't give free insulin to diabetics, free gym memberships for obesity or chemo for cancer, but all of a sudden, not only is the vaccine free, but they'll pay you in tokens that make you more unhealthy. Donuts, burgers, beer, cheesecakes, makes perfect sense, and free Uber. Okay. Yeah, it's problematic that we don't have universal health care, that insulin costs a shit ton of money for diabetics. That's a problem, but that's not an indictment of a vaccine. That's an indictment of our healthcare system. Free gym memberships for obesity. Yeah, you have to pay for those. Chemo for cancer. Yeah, again, universal health care. But all of a sudden, not only is the vaccine free, it wasn't free. It was taxpayer funded. But they'll pay you in tokens that make you more unhealthy. Again, this is, more of an indictment on our system and how uneducated a bunch of people are, that if you give them a couple little goodies, maybe they'll go get the vaccine. They'll get off their ass and go do what they need to do. And free Uber. Yeah, hey, did you know that a lot of people aren't able to go get the vaccine because they don't have transportation? So Uber is giving out free rides to people so they can go get their fucking vaccine. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that, Justin? What's wrong with that, Brian? Nothing, because you are an out-of-touch, transphobic, homophobic, I don't know, probably just, I don't want to say racist, but just, I don't know, man. You claim that you care about people and that you want to do good by people, but you share a lot of hateful shit. You share a lot of out-of-touch, lacking context, surface-level BS. Dude, for all the reading you've done and for how educated you claim to be, it's just really gross how easily you fall for crap like this. And then you're sharing it to your followers, many of who are just like, yeah, Brian, way to spread the truth, as if there's a bunch of like great meaning behind all this. It's not. It's a bunch of shallow and pedantic BS, man. And it just, I'm like lost for words and I can't even talk because it's just, it blows my mind how incredibly dumb you are. You can make all the videos you want. You could talk about all the stuff you want. I don't know how much of your content is actually recycled or stuff that you purchased throughout your own life and now you're just reselling it through modern success, whatever. I don't know if any of that's true. But I just highly doubt that you have the mental capacity to claim to do what you claim that you can do, that you say that you can do when you spread crap like this. It's dangerous. That's why half of your shit gets like flagged. And it just really irritates me that you're like in Central Florida where my family lives and you're going to just going to keep going out there and spreading all this crap. And until this pandemic is over, you're being a health hazard yourself. So anyway, be sure to check out the other handful of videos I did roasting somebody who I once thought was great, but clearly isn't. He's been on the wrong side of this pandemic the entire time, on the wrong side of politics and everything. It's really disappointing. And if you didn't know this about him, then here it is. Be sure to check out my other videos. I'm not doing this to get famous or make money. I'm just doing it to spread awareness on a public figure who might come across as reasonable and well-meaning, but he's actually doing a lot of dangerous stuff like this. So, thanks for watching. And by the way, if you do dislike the video, feel free to leave a comment and tell me why. I'd love to hear I'd love to hear what you disagree with. I'd love to hear why I'm wrong. I would love to hear why I'm just full of crap or a hater. Like, come on. Don't just dislike the video because you're a Bryan Casella suck-up. Actually speak up and share what's up. And if you come at me in a decent or neutral enough way, I'll respond to your stuff in a nice way.